I had some remarks prepared, but I'm just going to speak from the heart to my board. I'm the newest elected official on the Board of County Commissioners. I started in January of this year, and one of the first briefings I received from staff was a decision before us for Adams County to leave Tri-County Health. It is clear to me that this is the direction that our board needs to take. This does not dismiss the financial obligations that are ahead of us and the considerations that we need to understand going forward. It will cost us more in all likelihood to stand up our own health department. However, we cannot, in a world pandemic, have public health orders not be concise and not be clear and not be inclusive. When it comes to the cost of public health, being the least expensive or one of the least expensive counties providing public health, which all of us have to do by law, it hurts having the most inexpensive health department programs are brown, black, our most poor, and our most underserved communities. When we undertake our discussion in October to leave Tri-County Health, I will hold all of us accountable that we go through a transformational change of providing a better health system overall, that we have better leadership. We have great leadership now, but we just cannot live and we cannot stand under an opt-out order. So today I will conclude my comments. I still believe in masks. It was under the state health order under POLIS that we were able in Adams County to have in-person learning because of the mask mandate. The battle we lose today, we'll lose the battle today, but we're gonna win the war overall, and that is that we're gonna have a public health department that will serve the residents of Adams County. So I'm gonna conclude my remarks that I vote not in favor, because I do favor the mask mandate. I believe the mask mandate may not go far enough, and I also believe that we are at the beginning, at the bottom of a mountain of COVID, who is still the enemy, not each other, not the person sitting next to you, not Eastern versus Western Adams County, not Republican versus Democrat, not your freedom of choice versus my freedoms, my nieces and nephews. So I am going to vote in favor today of the opt-out option for Adams County, with the long term that we send a message to Tri-County Health that the opt-out no longer works for us, and to correct that, and for our administration to engage in discussions to correct that, and that overall this board will undertake a conversation in October on deciding if we opt out and we make stand up our own health department as Adams County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Dorisio.
I imagine you guys are all going to be after each one of us say like, yay, boo. I think, yeah, like, I get it. It's because these are difficult decisions, right? And unfortunately, this has become very divisive in our community, and we haven't even started talking about vaccinations yet for schools, right? I bring that up because we know that this is not the end of very difficult discussions in our community. This is not the end of very difficult discussions in the school board rooms, and this is not the end of difficult discussions at the kitchen table with people who disagree. This country is founded on a healthy skepticism of government, regardless of where you apply that skepticism. And that's the thing that I think most people can agree on. I support local control. I'm frustrated that Tri-County Health has not been able to establish a process where local school districts, I wanted to come in today and say, I support masks. I support it because I tell my kids, the burden of you wearing a mask compared to the burden of someone else getting sick is slight in my opinion. Based on also, because I'm a former prosecutor in this jurisdiction, standing up for victims and prosecuting people, holding them accountable for crimes they commit against our community. I relied on experts, whether it's mental health, medical, folks in our community. I also believe that we rely on our experts all the time when talking about criminal justice. I believe we rely on experts all the time that we look to for experts in how to handle money and all those things. I don't think it's okay for us to look away when I speak, and I have spent a lot of time over the last 3 days making phone calls, talking to educators, families, folks in our community, public safety folks, and even the hospitals, including folks at Children's Hospital. And Children's Hospital is at capacity, not just in beds, but with people, and that's directly from them. So I can tell you now that when looking at all the data and all the frustrating things that we're having to do is that it's more dangerous for us to have to keep kids at home than it is to send them to school. And I believe that
Okay, all right. Now let's have some respect for other commissioners. The vote has not happened. You guys could change the vote that fast by being rude. I can tell you that right now.
Here's the deal. Listen, I appreciate us having the conversation, and no matter how we vote today, I'm also willing to stand up in front of all of you at a different forum and talk about it, because I'll own any decision I make. We've had to make tough decisions all along. I've made tough decisions my whole life, and I don't mind doing it, but I do think that it's okay for us to have dialogue about why we make our decisions. I don't want to opt out for the reason that I don't think it's fair for this board to have to determine whether we think masks are good or not, because that's up to the health department. What I'd like to see, and I anticipated and wanted to do today, was have us be able to send the order back and say that we allow schools to go ask for an exemption. But that's not the option that was presented to us. But I'd be the first one to write a letter with you asking the health department to consider that, allowing schools, school districts to approach Tri-County Health, present their mitigation plan for alternatives to masks, and let the science and data and the experts in the schools work it out. That's local control. That's relying on the experts that we delegate the responsibility of health to. So I'm going to be voting against the opt-out today, but I support, I understand. I understand. I'll be voting against the opt-out today, but I will support pushing for us to get more local control and more engagement between Tri-County Health and the school district. I understand the concerns about individual liberties versus communal good. These are discussions we have all day, every day, from land use to budgeting. So I got phone calls from all sorts of folks all across the community. I want to appreciate it. I want you to know that every single email, every single voicemail, I listened to intently. I made phone calls to people in the schools. I talked to a lot of folks, and that's the decision I'm making today, but I will support you if you wanted to go to Tri-County Health and ask them to allow schools and school districts to present their best case for mitigation and alternative measures. Thank you.
We might have to ask the deputies to clear the room. So if you could get them ready to do that in case we have another interruption.
Will do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to start by thanking my colleagues for this thoughtful conversation and thank everyone who wrote in. I did my best to read all of the emails when they were very clearly a forum email that I'd read before. I just sent a standard reply. Many of you wrote in about your concerns for the health of your children. Many of you shared detailed stories about your concerns for the health of your children. And whether you were for the order or against the order, what I heard from every single resident was a deep-seated fear for the health of their children in the current times, that they wanted the very best, they wanted the safest, and they wanted to have some sense of a normal school year. And that's really what we want. We all have spent a lot of time talking about public health orders for many months, and was not something that we ever really discussed as a board before. And because we are not public health experts, We have historically relied on our health department to write these sorts of orders. We appoint to our Board of Health folks who are not us, but folks who are medical professionals, folks who have advanced degrees, either in public health or medicine or nursing, and we ask them to ask thoughtful questions of the experts in epidemiology, of the national data from CDC, of the recommendations from the pediatricians and the doctors. My colleague, Commissioner Odoricio, brought up a really good point about asking for questions for variances, if regional data ended up diverging from a countywide or regional order. I completely agree. We need to be asking these questions to our health department. We need to be asking our questions how they are addressing mental health, how they are responding to community need, how they are responding to parent concerns. But when they have had lengthy public hearings themselves, where the public health experts have taken the time to analyze all of this data, they have taken the time to ask all of these questions, they have made a recommendation that they believe will save children's lives. We need to follow that advice, and we can continue to ask them questions. We should continue to ask them questions, particularly thoughtful questions like, when regions are different, do they show up regionally? Do they show up differently? I will be voting in favor of the public health order, which is going to show up as a no on the opt-out, because we need to continue to defer to our public health experts who have taken the time to analyze this data and take into account the health of the community.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out how to turn on my mic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Always remember to shut it off, though. Just saying. Hot mic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to address a few things and a few statements that were made. But I also want to tell everybody that just as you are diverse in this audience, not all of you are for masks, not all of you are against masks. Some of you don't care either way. That's the way we are at this board up here. That's why we're sitting at this dais. We have a diverse opinion, as you see in our suggestion on how we're going to vote. I do want to address a comment that was made about becoming our own public, or having our own public health authority. This conversation has gone on since I've been here. I've been here 8.5 years. We have constantly fought the tri-county health orders that have come across. We absolutely have strived to become or stand up our own health department. Financially and feasibly, that is a huge task. It is something that we are discussing. It is something that has gone on for years, not just recently. That is something that we have battled across the board with the Tri-County Health on many, many different issues, including women's bodies, how they're treated, to pandemics, to diseases, to everything. We have a tremendous appointee of board members to the Tri-County Health Department. The issue that we have here today is not to make the Tri-County Health Department order go away. The issue here is it appropriately under the authority of this board to enforce, or should it be done individually through those school districts that you are attending? And in my mind, we don't need to send a letter. That health order doesn't go away because we opt out. The health order is still enforceable by those schools, as you see in Jefferson County, as you see in Douglas County, that choose to enforce that rule. Just as we do not have a mask order blanketing Adams County, but we have businesses and industry that require masks. We are not requiring the masks. Those individuals choosing through their own benefit to apply that to their community are doing so. I believe that these school districts have that right to do so as well. We don't need to change the order. The order is the order. And I respect the fact that our Tri-County Health Department appointees have done that research, have done that scientific analysis, have relied on the articles and the studies that have happened to make that decision. I'm not taking that away. What I am saying is I don't believe that county government should be enforcing a specific order to school districts and child care centers that they should be the ones enforcing. They know their communities. I don't know those communities. I've been out of school for I don't know how long. I'm a Navy veteran. I was told to do things that I know half of you would have gone ballistic to do. I know we have other veterans in here that feel the same way, but I'm respectful to the needs of our community. I believe this board, through their communications and their different views, are respectful to this community. Regardless of whether one of us votes no or one of us votes yes, I believe that we are well represented on this board because we have that diverse conversation and because we have those diverse ideals as what is good. That's what makes a good leadership team, is seeing all sides and having passion on all sides. So regardless of how this vote goes today, please be respectful, voice your opinions, contact your community leaders that you need to contact, let them know how you feel. I would definitely go back to your school boards and talk about what this means to them, because they will be deciding whether they want to continue with the health order or not. This isn't our decision. If they decide to enforce a mask order, don't come back and say, hey, county commissioners, we want you to override them. That's not our position. Our position is to ensure that the orders that we do are within the realm of our authority. I don't believe, and I may have different opinions up here, that is our authority for those specific individual, like school districts, like daycares. I believe that order is still in place and that they can apply it as they feel needed throughout the county. So that being said, I do want to thank this board for being a tremendous leadership group. And just because we have differences of opinion doesn't mean we don't lead with you in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tedesco. And like I always say, we're one large bickering family, but we love each other. Commissioner O'Dorisio.
Yes, I will. One thing I didn't share with you earlier is in my conversations with some of the school districts, I did find out, because I do have some concerns about parents who are concerned about their health and safety of their child wearing a mask. I heard from plenty of parents on both sides. People are concerned about sending their kids to school when they cannot get vaccinated and other people don't have masks. That's obviously a concern with some folks. And then I heard from a lot of folks, maybe some folks in here, about their concerns about what the dangers, both physical or mental, could be to their kids to wear a mask. And so one of the things that we do know is that, well, let me just say that the school districts that I talk to, some of them do have the ability for parents to work with their doctors to do a waiver form. And so you can talk to your school district if they're going to allow that, to do a waiver form, that if your doctor determines that your kid, and it's support, if you're concerned about the health and safety of your kid and your doctor agrees with you, then there's going to be a form for you to opt out on your own. So there is still some level of opportunity for you to work with your school districts to see if they want to adopt the same sort of waiver that is offered in a couple of our school districts. Of course, it has to be supported by your doctor regarding the mental or physical health of your child in relation to a mask. I say that because it is an issue, and I do actually appreciate people's concerns. How can we all go wrong, even if we disagree, when the intent of all of us is to protect the health and safety of our kids? So I appreciate the emails and the concerns that I heard on that issue. And I think it's okay to go back and ask Tri-County Health to try to see if they will offer some sort of flexibility for schools and school districts to come in with alternative plans. And I do think it's okay to ask them to reconsider the mandate as it relates to pre-K, because I can't get pre-K kids to do much, and wearing a mask, I can imagine, is very difficult. So I'll support those efforts if we can do so respectfully and together, even if you disagree with my vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Dorisio. And if you've ever sat next to a 2-year-old in a restaurant, you know how hard it is to get a mask on them. Commissioner Tedesco, do you have more?
I do. I just have a short, for those of you that have sent all these emails, and I appreciate that, but I was celebrating my 25th anniversary this weekend. I left last week. I was up above 13,000 feet. I was having a great time with my wife. when I came into cell service, my phone blew up. I mean, I was getting like 100, 150 emails at one time. I know a lot of you were trying to contact me by phone. I was able to answer a few of those calls. I want you to know I was not ignoring you, but my life would be completely different if I ignored my wife. So thank you very much for being understanding. Thank you for reaching out. I will go back and read the emails. I will go back and see all the comments. I will listen to my voicemails, but I apologize. I did not get home until late Sunday night. So if you didn't receive something from me, it wasn't that I was ignoring you. I was just making sure that I have another 25 years with my wife, and I thank you very much.
Commissioner Pinter.
Yes, thank you. I just feel like I had to make a comment on some of the conversation that's been going, particularly from Commissioner Tedesco and Commissioner Henry, talking about how we do not have authority in schools. That is correct, but statutorily we are required to have a public health authority, and we are required to either contract with them or administer them. In this case, we contract with Tri-County Health Department. That is our authority. That is our responsibility. There's a reason why we appoint to that Board of Health, and there's a reason why we appoint medical professionals to that Board of Health, or people with a medical background or a public health background, so that they can ask these thoughtful questions. We can send additional thoughtful questions. We can send additional concerning questions that come to us. But it is our authority to have a public health department, and I believe it is our responsibility to have the back of the public health department when we ask them to make a recommendation to us. They make that recommendation. It is our job to take the recommendation of those members of the Board of Health who, quite frankly, have put their lives on the line, who have feared for their safety this past year and a half. And we need to make sure that we have the backs of the people we appointed to the Board of Health. And I would implore my colleagues to take our authority, which we have delegated to Tri-County Health, and take the recommendation seriously and follow this order, which is designed to protect our children.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Okay, I don't see any other comments. I definitely want to let everybody know the reason why I did read your emails, believe it or not. Some of them were pretty, abrupt. Some of them were definitely not pleasant to read. But the reason why I didn't respond myself personally is because I was still trying to form my decision, and I didn't know quite how to respond. To assume that we already come up here with an agenda is wrong. And to assume that we don't hear or read or listen to you, as you could tell, is wrong. We listen to both sides. And I, along with all my colleagues here, believe that the public health order was right, but the fact that they put an opt-out and decided to make it political and put it on the political side of it, as opposed to actually being our health board and making health orders, is wrong. Because commissioners up here, like Commissioner Pinter pointed out, are not medical professionals like the ones at the Board of Health. So if this is important enough to the Board of Health, then they need to do a directive and not an opt-out. So with that said, Erica, if we could go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Pinter?
No.
Commissioner O'Dorisio?
No.
Commissioner Baca?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed. Suggest we go ahead and take a 10-minute break. So if we can go ahead and take a 10-minute break, we'll be back at 10:30.